Scott Lucas is the Professor of American Politics at University College Dublin, and Susie Wiles is Donald Trump's Chief of Staff. Mix all of those things together with an attention-grabbing profile in Vanity Fair magazine, and you have another example of cracks appearing in the MAGA facade, although these cracks are as potentially significant as they are entertaining. Scott, give us a thumbnail sketch, if you would.
Well, thumbnail sketch is that Susie Wiles has been credited with bringing some type of stability to Trump 2.0 as opposed to the chaos of Trump 1.0. And that stability has underpinned the destruction that the Trump administration has been able to wield at home and abroad. So it comes as a surprise that when Vanity Fair, in what effectively started off looks like as a PR spread, all the glossy photographs of Trump's key advisors, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller, a number of them were interviewed, not just Wiles, with the veteran reporter Chris Whipple. But Whipple comes out and focuses on Wiles because he had 11 interviews with her, and he recorded all of them. They were on the record. So when Wiles comes out with the following about personalities to start off with, it's damaging. Trump has the personality of an alcoholic, even though he doesn't drink. That's significant because Susie Wiles, who's the daughter of a famous sports broadcaster named Pat Summerall, he was an alcoholic. JD Vance is a conspiracy theorist. Pam Bondi is incompetent. Marco Rubio, and notice this contrast, is ideological and principled. We may come back to that in a second. Now, what Wiles says on the specific, and Elon Musk is an odd duck who is hooked on ketamine. Now,
just to stress, hang on, for anyone just tuning in, this is Donald Trump's Chief of Staff.
Not us. Yeah. We're not going to get in legal trouble here. This is Susie Wiles.
Yeah, Donald Trump's Chief of Staff describing Donald Trump's key consigliere and allies.
Absolutely. Now, when you link that up to the specific policies and actions that Trump has taken with his alcoholic's personality, in other words, being aggressive, feeling invulnerable, always feeling that he is in command and correct, you get, for example, the destruction of the U.S. Agency for International Development, including life-saving programs like the programs against aid that had been developed by the George W. Bush administration. Wiles says she thinks that went too far, too fast, but it went ahead. When you talk about the deportations of migrants, sometimes legal migrants, mothers and children among them, Wiles thinks that was sometimes too aggressive, but she let it go ahead. When you talk about Musk destruction of the government, at that point, she says, that probably went a bit too far. Although we have to remember that Musk's destruction of government was sanctioned by Donald Trump. So what I find interesting is this juxtaposition, that Wiles is willing to very subtly, and she is a veteran operator, undercut the people she worked with, but she still is defending what they did, albeit putting her hands up and said, maybe it went a bit too far, too fast.
Or I was initially aghast. I mean, this is the bit I don't get. There's been, for people not following the story, she's described it as a disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest President, White House staff and cabinet in history, which is, so much yada yada. But she hasn't, as you've reminded us, been able to deny any of the details or any of the quotes. So, and this will be speculation because we may never know the answer to this question, short of her publishing some memoirs a few years hence. Why on earth would she speak like this? Is she just a brilliant journalist that has lulled her into a false sense of security on 11 separate occasions? Or could there be a hidden agenda, or are we missing something? Why on earth would she talk about her colleagues in such an unguarded and critical fashion?
And that's the huge question, which has significance beyond the damage that we talked about. Because unless Susie Wiles simply fell for the veteran journalist Chris Whipple, who clearly told her and who recorded every conversation, because that's Vanity Fair's standard practice, then in fact she has deliberately planted these seeds. I will also emphasize, by the way, that the White House's organized rebuttal yesterday, every single official came out and said, Whipple omitted vital context. As Whipple himself noted in the response yesterday, when they say you omitted context because they can't challenge your facts and you can't challenge the record, you know that you've got them. Now, I'm going to speculate here, James, and I will emphasize this is speculation.
Of course.
I think Susie Wiles is looking to undercut certain people, and she may be positioning for where she goes next in 2026, 2027, and beyond. And remember that before working for Donald Trump, she worked for Ron DeSantis, the wannabe presidential candidate who failed miserably and who cut her loose. JD Vance does not come out well out of this. Trump does not come out well out of this. The one person who escapes damage personality-wise is Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
We are in the midst of a serious fight within the administration, for example, over Ukraine and Russia, in which you have a Vance camp and you have a Rubio camp. We also know that Vance is no fan of Rubio. Just speculation here, but I think Wiles is positioning herself, if she is dismissed or decides to leave in the next few months, I think she's positioning herself in terms of where she goes in 26 and in 28.
Gosh. Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Very briefly, if you would, because Sheila Fogarty is raring to go. The National Review has published an extraordinary article today which has one editor describing Donald Trump as a hateful, raging lunatic with all the empathy of Jeffrey Dahmer. How significant do you think those hideous comments about Rob Reiner might prove to be? They do seem to have reached parts that previous behaviours of Donald Trump's haven't reached among his own support base.
I think they're corrosive. I don't think they're fundamental, because I think the fundamental is going to be where the U.S. economy goes. But when people are feeling the pain of the economy, for Trump to go to them and say, you be loyal to me, when quite frankly, he's violated the number one rule my grandmother set for me, you don't speak ugly. He's spoken ugly for years and gotten away with it. But the way that he trashed not only Rob Reiner, but remember Rob Reiner's wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, who were murdered as well. And when he showed no compassion, no sympathy, and he gloated about their murders, yeah, I think you may see even some of Trump voters peeling away now.